Hey, welcome to Rythmia Live. We're coming to you today from Costa Rica and the Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica. We're going to talk a little bit today about this way in which the soul reconnects us and how plant medicine can assist in this reconnection and a lot of the mysteries around plant medicine. We are Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica. We are a retreat center that incorporates all different kinds of modalities into one system called the Rythmia Way. I'm going to tell you a little bit about us, but before that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Gerry Powell, and I was a businessman in my regular life, and I was very fortunate in business. I sold my last company for about $90 million, and my life was a wreck. I was an alcoholic, a drug addict, everything bad you could possibly imagine. I was such a bad father, bad husband. I was a terrible human, and I was, more than that, I hated myself so badly that I tried to kill myself a couple times, and unfortunately that didn't work. And I had a chance to have an experience on plant medicine, and that experience changed my life. And it changed my life so much that not only do I have this particular kind of joy in my life, but I've sort of given my life to the proliferation of this type of healing, and have built this center in Costa Rica. And I'll tell you a little bit about what we've discovered, what we've found out, that all people between when they're conceived and about 5 years old split from themselves, and they leave themselves out of a sense of safety. When I say they leave themselves, they actually split from their soul. Their soul's still in their aura, but they split from their soul and they become someone else out of safety. And almost anything can make this split occur. With me, when I was 3 years old, I was sexually abused. A lot of people split just because they weren't fed on time. And the truth of this is that you've been designed to split. By design, everybody splits. And this loss, this movement of self, we believe that in this absence of being in one, that all disease, all addictions, all disorders, and all sadness come from this split. And we've been lucky here at Rythmia. We've been super lucky because we're able to put this back, to merge people back with their soul at a rate of about 94% of the people who come here. So 94 out of 100 people report that they've had this miracle where they're back in their soul. And this miracle changes your life. Because this miracle is done here on plant medicine, right? And the plant medicine sacred plant ceremony gets you, it actually rewires how your brain thinks. And because of this, because this reconnection with your soul is done at a soul level, it's a soul agreement, this is actually permanent. About 90% of the 100% of people who come here, so this is about 97% of the people who get the miracle, 6 months later report that it's still there. It's still there, and it's 94 point something report that this stay at Rythmia changed the course of their life. So there's something that's really going on here, and a lot of it has to do with how we put this back and how we put this back. And so a lot of people say, well, Gerry, why would we be designed to split? And the reason that was told to me by the medicine was that you're designed to split so that you can expand your consciousness. Because all of the growth that we're going to do, the majority of the growth that we're going to do, is we're going to do it when we believe there is nobody else but us. That's the feeling of aloneness is what creates this expansion. Then when you put yourself back together, you can actually have the dessert of this very hard dinner. When you put yourself together, you can actually enjoy this. Now, another interesting point of this is that when you split, your brain is in two parts, as you know, your conscious and your subconscious. The mark that goes on your subconscious is that I'm not enough. So this is kind of like a GPS, so that if you set the GPS at a particular destination, as long as you're thinking about it, you can go wherever. But if you come off the course, it's going to point you back to your destination. Well, if your destination is I'm not enough, and you don't even know that it's printed on there, and it's driving your life, it's driving what happens, then something great happens in your life, and then something screwed up happens in your life. And everything is balanced to I'm not enough, to prove the subconscious right, because the subconscious has to be right. There isn't another way around this. The subconscious has to be right. Now, a good byproduct of this is when you put yourself back together and you're living in the center, the thing that gets rewritten on your subconscious is that you are enough. And then it starts out picturing in your life all over the place as if you are enough. We had an amazing week of healing here. It's been a super, super great week of all kinds of emotions. And I want to tell you this, if you want to come here, you cannot come here thinking that this is going to be an easy week. If you wanted somebody to tell you how great you are, you could buy some Zig Ziglar tapes and that kind of thing about how great. But people who come here actually come here because they want to dive into their subconscious, into their shadow, into the things that are driving their life that they don't even know are driving their life. And it takes someone who's extremely brave to do this, because this work is deep, deep, deep work. But I can tell you this and promise you this, that if this is something that you want to do, because right now I'm speaking to your soul, I'm not even speaking to you. If this is something your soul wants to do, your soul is going to drag you here. And when you get here, and it's so funny because the soul will get you here in all different kinds of ways. You might win this in a silent auction, as I saw this week here. And it still gets you. Your soul will get you here. And if I'm talking to you when your soul is responding, it's because your soul wants back in your life. And I'm going to tell you, this change that happens here is permanent, and it is permanent. It's freeing. It's a feeling of freedom like you've never felt before, and it's a feeling of living in vulnerability, which is a whole new thing for a lot of us, a really new thing. But you'll get to love like you've never loved before. You'll get to laugh like you've never laughed before. You'll get to cry like you've never cried before. This is all what this is about, and this is what we're doing. This is the work that we're doing. If you can, and if you think this would be of interest to anybody, please do us a favor and press share right now, and share this with other folks that want to be waking up in this kind of environment. So one thing that people say to me is they say, Gerry, how do I know if I'm split? And I'll tell you there's two ways. The first way to realize that you're split is the song remains the same, but the faces change. So I want to tell you about this. So if you're on boyfriend number 50, and they keep ending in the exact same way, but the faces change, that's a good telltale sign. If you're on job number 20, if you're on career number 15, if you're on family fight number 777, if you're on all this stuff and the faces change or the theme changes, but the result is the same, you're in it, you're split. The second thing, and this is the more interesting of the two, is the blah, blah, blah. And it was explained to me like this, you're now 40 years old and you used to love to play golf. And now you're kind of like, on golf. And you used to love your wife. Couldn't watch her walk by without having cool thoughts. And now it's blah, blah. You used to be excited about your kids, and now it's blah, blah. Your job is blah, blah, blah. Everything is blah, blah. And it was explained to me that as an actor in a play, you're an actor here, you can only be in character for so many years and love the things that the character is supposed to love. At some point, it turns into you questioning, do I even like these things? Is this really me? Do I even like golf? Do I like chicken soup? like who knows? But everything starts to come into question again, and the beautiful part about this is when you put this back together, you can actually like things again, love things again, get excited again, have this feeling of, oh my God, I'm alive again. I'm really alive. I want to roll down the windows or put down the top. I'm alive. And that's the beauty of this place. But again, this is not for the faint of heart. This is heavy duty work. Today, every week on this little Facebook, we invite a guest who had a rich experience of all different types, as you've seen. Like the experiences are different. Today we have a guest from London. His name is Simon Crow. Simon, come on and join us. Simon is a life coach, for lack of a better word. He'd rather be called something else, but that's exactly what he does. He's a life coach from London, and his website is simoncrow.com. And Simon, I imagine that you've done a ton of work as a life coach. You've done
years of work
of all different types, right?
Yeah, lots and lots of different things.
And you started. When did your spiritual journey start?
About 15 years ago. I was in a job that I didn't like. I got very frustrated, and hadn't realised that I was creating that for myself. I hadn't realised that I had a conscious role in my life. I just thought life happened to me. It was a great job. I was a manager and I had a good position in the company, a job that I enjoyed. But I felt horribly stuck. And so I started going on this journey to change that. And the spiritual journey really started when I realised that it was my choices which was creating. So if you like, the journey had to start from within to change the external, whereas I'd been living my life from the outside in.
And is that the thing that drove you to become a life coach? Is that the experience that drove you to do this?
So my background was in adult learning, education. I have a master's degree in media technology for teaching adults. So it's something that I've always been very passionate about. And I've noticed that my style has always been about facilitation. So I've always been about letting the individual, empowering the individual to learn and to create new opportunities for themselves. So I knew that my skills, my interests, my values were all around supporting the development of others. But I worked with a coach for about 3-4 months, and I knew that when I worked with her that's what I wanted to do. I just knew that I'd be brilliant.
You'd be a great coach.
Yeah. It was really.
And I can actually see how you interact with people, and I watched you here, and I thought, this guy's just going to do amazing. And you have a super chill way about you, and you're non-judgmental. You got all the goods, right? And so for a guy like this, you think, oh my God, what could he possibly find out here? And then
and I came with a similar question.
You came what? You came
with a similar question. What am I going to find out? Now, I've done lots and lots of work in the sense that I've got so many fantastic tools. I have a meditation practice, a very intentional relationship with my wife, beautiful friends, really good. But what I've been carrying around with myself all this time is a real sense of anxiety that often gets triggered in different situations. And it's got better over the years, but it was for a period of time so bad that it felt like it was taking so much of my energy and attention
to manage the anxiety.
Just to manage the anxiety. Yeah.
And so the thing is that when you got here and I heard all about you, I thought, this guy, who knows if he's going to get anything, because he's been
right?
he's done so much work. And most of the people that come here have done work. But you did a shitload of work, a lot of work.
I have my own coach,
Yeah, you're your own coach. You're your own. That's it. And so it was beautiful for me to see you break down.
Thank you.
It was beautiful for me to see you break down. It was funny today. I think it was today. One lady said to me in closing, she goes, I remember when I told you I was going to lose my mind, and I told her, I said, let's hope, and she did. But explain a little bit about your experience. What?
Well, I guess that the journey starts when you first arrive, in the sense that it's about setting an intention. You did a really great job at explaining just a little bit of what you've just shared, and I think it's so important that you have a clear intention to really commit to the work. I think that's a really important part of that. And so we had the first ceremony on Monday evening, which was I can't really describe it. It was like 4 hours of hell.
4 hours of hell. So say that's great.
That's night one. I mean, it gets worse,
night
right?
one. It gets worse.
So I'm, lying there on this really comfortable bed, and and you have a little drink of this wonderful tasting concoction, and then your life, or my life, started to unfold in front of me. I started to see all the kinds of things that I guess sit within my subconscious. But what I began to notice are the things that I'd suppressed, the things that perhaps things that I'd worked on in the past, but rather than resolving, what I'd managed to do was to manage, or in some way to subdue them, or to suppress them in some way. That's part of managing.
Yes.
But, these things find their way to the surface again.
Yeah.
But what was, I saw all kinds of stuff.
Scary stuff from your past?
Well, scary stuff from my past, stuff that what was interesting, a lot of stuff I didn't really want to think. Like, oh no, I'm not the kind of person who thinks those kinds of things. Well, what I was doing in the process was just going towards those things. Well, if I'm going to think them, I might as well think all of that,
I love that.
So, you know what I mean?
And that's the right way to do that.
So you have that kind of shocking thought, I did that to that person, rip their face off. That actually happened. I was ripping my mother's face off at one point. She had something in her skull, or something that's kind of piece of gold or something. I don't know what it was, but I just had to get at it. Ripped all her face off.
How interesting.
That's not something I normally do. On a
Let's hope not.
Christmas card, happy Christmas, looking forward to ripping your face off.
I love that. I love that.
But what was kind of most telling for me on that first evening, I think, was I saw some things that I didn't even know were in my past. An experience that I had when I was a very, very small baby almost. A very emasculating experience. An experience with a man who was a family friend, and saw stuff, the energy of which I'd never really seen, or the images of which I'd never really seen. And it's incredible because I couldn't have accessed that in any other way.
Right.
And once I'd got that understanding of what had happened, once you've got the reason, it's like the key that unlocks, and then the lights on the fairy, the lights on the chain of fairy lights all start to light up events in my life which are probably related to
and
that.
it all makes sense in 1 second, right? Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's why I did that. That's why I made that. That's
oh
why
my
I made
God,
those
yes.
decisions.
Yes.
It's all lighting up, and that's a moment of insight, but a moment of insight not from a memory, but from something in my subconscious that I could never have gotten to, and
do you believe, just on that point, but I honestly don't think if I went to therapy for 100 years, I could have seen that thing that happened to me.
Well, I've done a bit of work with therapists. I think it's really
wonderful.
Useful support.
Yeah.
I really do. And they would ask me things like, so can you remember an event in your life when?
Right.
And I'd go, yeah, there was this little moment there and this little moment there. But it never really felt like it was a defining moment. They may have actually been moments which had been informed by something that happened much earlier on. Yeah. Yep. So already I was making choices.
Absolutely right.
I couldn't possibly, because I didn't know it had happened.
You didn't know.
It wasn't a memory that I
But here's the crazy thing, right? So this is where I get confused. I didn't know, but I did. Like, it's the crazy, I don't know how to explain that to someone. I did not know. I swear to you, if you bet me $10,000 that day, I would have said no. But yet, when I saw it, I did know. I just wouldn't let myself know. Do you know what I mean by that kind of craziness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it all makes sense.
And then everything, because what I believe happens is that thing that happens to you before 5, the rest of your life you play out, and you remember the first thing that really, when Mary Smith did that to me, that's what really broke my heart. And it was a replaying out of the 15th act of the first act.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Well, what's even worse is that what came through from that memory, that hidden memory, was a choice I'd made that I wasn't worthy. I wasn't enough.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, if that's playing out in everything that you're doing, you're always going to be coming from that place.
It's always on everything.
Yeah.
You can't unsign one document.
Yeah.
Like you signed every single thing with that one thing, and you're such a thoughtful guy, and
well, this is the point, Joe. I'm a happy, balanced, content, joyful man with a great practice, wonderful family, successful business, great clients. So it's not like this that my life has been affected sort of in the external. You know, I've done a lot of work around this.
And you did a great external job.
Sure, but what I'm saying is that it's always felt. I've often described it as like having a motor car with a limiter on the engine. So it has the potential to travel at 150 miles an hour, let's say, but it's got a restrictor on the engine that only do 75.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you've got all that power,
but you can't use it, right?
You can't use it. You can't access it.
And what was interesting today, because what does happen here, I'm going to tell you, is that when you have this realization, and it happens to everybody. It's not. He's not the exception. We're the rule. It's the rule. This is what happens. And then you come back together, and then once you're together, there's an adjustment period here where you go, oh fuck, what now? Because if you get people who are 50 years old and 40 years old and 30 years old and 70 years old, and in this 1 week, a lot of what they have known gets deconstructed and blown away. They're kind of raw. It's a feeling of, can you explain
how I'm feeling right now?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I should be feeling better. You know, I feel like I should be more euphoric.
Joyous.
Yeah, I should be running down I got my miracle.
Yeah.
What I feel like is, I know some stuff happened, so why do I feel so flat? Why do I feel so sort of uncertain? Why am I so reluctant to leave? You know, it's like, because here they've got a little family of people I've been with for the last week, you know, they're all people I can talk to about shit, and then, you know, 7 colours of vomit, and they're all, they're with me on that, you know. We've all had that shared experience.
I love that. And that feeling of fear. Now, I want to ask you, the overall experience, you're absolutely for, right?
Absolutely. I'm going to bring clients here. There's no question in my mind.
But the feeling of, what do I know? Is it, what do I know? What do I know? So this is, and I was explaining this when we were sitting down, right? That I had that feeling for about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks here, and it's called an adjustment period. And what came after that was the most exciting times of my life. But during that adjustment period of time, I was trying my hardest to make life look like it did before I came here. Like I just want to know that I know life. And all of a sudden I didn't. And I was crying all the time. I would go home and I would cry. And then I would think, why am I fucking crying? Because I know that sucked. Like what I was in before, but I was crying.
At least I knew it.
And, you know, at least I knew what sucked, right? And this is the beginning. It's the end and the beginning. And this is such a rich time, this time that you're going through. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you here today, because, you know, I want people to know this is work.
Yeah.
Can you describe
you know, when I talk to my clients, I talk about commitment, I talk about intention, I talk about the potential to change their lives, and it's not for the faint-hearted. It's not for somebody who just wants to show up and someone give them some tools, tell them a few nice things, as you said, you know, say some nice words about them, and then they walk out changed. So this is you committing to changing your life,
it is,
and this is what it will feel like. Well, if you imagine, I work with a lot of my clients for a year or more. You imagine getting that in 3 days, and you know, it feels challenging, but I'm up for it. You know, I came here with the intention to do the work.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we saw, you know, in the ceremonies was pretty scary. I spent I think it was the 3rd ceremony. I spent 4 hours purging.
Yeah. Diarrhea or throwing up?
Didn't have any diarrhea, and I didn't actually manage to vomit anything real. It was just
dry heave, like a dry heave.
Retched for 4 hours. That was in between bouts of hysterical laughter, crying, sweats. You know, when you're on the toilet with a bucket, sweating. You know,
I hate that.
Retching,
I hate
laughing,
love
thinking to yourself, you know, because I'm laughing loudly, and I wonder what the people in the room are thinking, so they can hear me.
I love it though.
And lying face down, you know, And what was really interesting is like purging and purging and purging, and what I became really conscious of was my anxiety, the pain in my chest. So not the thoughts of anxiety, just absolutely coming to the fore. They wanted to really show me, what
it was like.
What it really felt like.
And let me ask you, when that anxiety came up, did you purge it?
No, I tried. I mean, I was retching and roaring like a lion. It was, it was really, and I couldn't. And I spoke to Abby, the person who was leading the ceremony, and they talked about loving it. They talked about.
Isn't that an interesting twist on it? Yeah. And do you feel now that this has happened? What do you really feel like when you look forward? What is going to be different? Do you have that? Your hands around that?
In simple terms, the fourth ceremony, so the final ceremony, was much more low key, very different. Very different.
And what was funny, that is the strong medicine.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, but now, we've built some muscles by the.
Yeah. You're funny.
There was this wonderful moment, and it wasn't. I just had a moment of insight that when I was a young boy, I don't know what age, 7, 8, 9, I had a real yearning, a real desire for a little jaw harp. And I remember the feeling of being a 7-year-old, really wanting something with all your heart and soul. Yeah. And what I recognised is that desire that came up for me in my journey was exactly the same kind of vibrational resonance as my anxiety.
Interesting.
And I thought, so my anxiety is all about desire. So why does it create anxiety? Because I'm suppressing it. I'm not following that desire.
So you're pushing your desire down.
Right. Because I must at some point thought that desiring things was not healthy, was not allowed, wasn't it?
Or that you couldn't get them, or whatever as a kid, right?
Sure. More likely that. Didn't it? And so, just having realised that, I then lay there for the next couple of hours, just desiring everything. I don't have to tell you the things but seriously, I had to go everybody in that room.
Everywhere. I love that. God,
all those thoughts I wasn't allowing myself to have on the first night.
You were having them.
Just having.
That's fantastic.
Because I also realised, they're thoughts. They're not. They're
not anything.
That doesn't make me a bad person. Just because I dreamt about that doesn't mean
absolutely
I have to go and get some treatment for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's been beautiful. And now now when I feel that anxiety coming up in my chest, I know it's only been a couple of days, but I just allow myself to feel the desire of whatever it is. Just really feel the desire.
Yeah.
And then bring that energy into me.
Interesting.
And it's been incredible. So that's the kind of the good news. The bad news is, well, now what? I've just been spending all of this time and energy and focus on trying to manage this. Now it's not there.
What do I do with this
what
time?
Do I do with it? Well, what do I do with the time? What do I do with this focus, this energy? And just asking myself some questions like, do I really care about the things which were important?
Isn't this the craziest shit?
Yeah.
So after this happened to me, I went home and my friend Farshad, who lived down the street, he said, "Hey, do you want to play golf? On some day." And I looked at him and I thought, Farsh, I don't even know if I like fucking golf. That's what I told him. I was like, and here I played my whole life.
Not yes or no. I don't even know.
I don't know if I like beats. I don't know what I like. I don't know. Yeah. And this was a real relearning. The first 3 months after this, for me, was a real relearning. And here's the greatest thing, is that, I spent my life in the pursuit of the pursuit. So if I was doing cocaine, I would do fucking every speck of cocaine in the place. If I was gambling, I'd make sure that I got in a precarious position. If I was, with women, I'd be with tons of it. Like, it was just me. I was a hungry ghost. And it was just the pursuit of the pursuit. There was nothing. How are you ever going to get all the cocaine in you? It's the pursuit of the pursuit.
You can never get enough of what you don't need.
You can't get enough of what you don't need. So it was my full-time job was pursuing that, right? And then when you take that out of the mix, when I sat down and I felt like I'm enough is really the feeling that I had. Like, I'm enough. What now? I have 24 hours in a day. I'm sleeping 6. What now? And what developed from that was joy. From that feeling of, oh fuck, what now? I got to joy, because here's what happened to me. I noticed about 14 days in that I kind of liked peace. I never had peace because there was always 58 things going on in my mind. I never had quiet. You know, I would walk around with the TV on, a radio on, some self-help tapes, some background shit. I'd be reading 11 books in the bathroom. There'd be all kinds of books all over the place. I never had peace. And all of a sudden, I got confronted with peace. And what's interesting with peace is that peace is a moment when we see ourselves as okay. Like, if you don't see yourself as okay, then it's not peaceful. So, but when you're back with yourself, you're actually, hey, you know what? This quiet, this not seeing anybody, this being here alone, not even reading, but just being, whatever being is, driving to the store, just being, was all fucking new to me. Because there was no being. There was just on my way somewhere. I was never being, I was on my way. Let's go get some cocaine, then let's get some of this, and then let's go to self-help thing. We have to drive there. I'm on my way there. Even when I'm there, I'm thinking about the next one that they got. Like, I could never even be in it. And for me, the byproduct of being in this thing is I get to meet and love people. This is the thing that I didn't have. I thought I wanted to help them. Probably wanted to help them out of their money at the time, but I thought I wanted to help them. But I never got to. And now this thing of really, really, really giving and taking and being in relationship with you, like right now, like that's as real as something I've never had in my life, right? And it allowed me to do it. And I noticed this: people in the healing arts, whether you're a life coach or an energy worker or a yogi or whatever, once you're through this thing, and they come out, the way that they interact or relate to their primary business changes. It changes because they come at it from a different, new place. And I gotta tell you, nothing calms people down more than when you're in peace yourself with them. Like, it disarms people. It gets them right where I think they can grow. Now, like, there's a lot of people out here. There's a real lot of people out here that are probably afraid. And I just want to say one thing. Again, if you think this can help anybody, please press the share button and share this thing. If you have questions, number one, you can write me a question here, and I'm going to answer it after this talk. But also, you can call this number, this 866-936-9446. There's operators there that can help you and sort of walk you through what this is like. But I want you to tell me for a second and tell them that Simon, that were you at all afraid? When did you get afraid?
Yes.
And when was that?
So a little bit of trepidation going into the first ceremony because not knowing what to expect.
Right.
A bit of a lot of fear during the first ceremony when seeing all this kind of stuff coming up, which I hadn't really experienced before. I guess just the fear of losing your mind, the fear of not being able to bring it all back together, which is why the shaman is so fantastic.
It's incredible stuff, right?
Incredible space.
But is the fear of, I want to ask you something, just to that point, the fear of losing my mind, to me, the way I translate that now, before I used to translate that as losing my shit and not being able to, but to me, the fear of losing my mind was the fear of finding out that everything I knew might not apply. That was the feeling for me. But was the feeling for you more like, I'm going to lose my shit and then not come back?
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of, well, because you can't outrun the
you can't do.
You've got to
it's going to win.
Yeah. But it's going to take you where it's going to take you. You've got to, and I think that it's the fear of not being in control, the fear of not being the one who's commanding this. The one
and that's a strange feeling.
Yeah,
right?
it's a terrifying feeling. And what was really interesting is that on the Wednesday when I was purging for 4 hours, that was really different because I didn't get afraid.
Interesting.
It was incredibly kind of painful.
Calming?
And but I felt held. I felt it was all happening in the context of love, not by the people around me, but by
the medicine. And very interesting.
And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that you feel that if you trust the process, trust the medicine, that you see that you're doing it in the context of being healed.
Yes.
And and being prepared to do the work, to go there,
then
to face the things which are the most terrifying. Okay, that's the terrifying thing. I'll go towards that. Because I've always known that the cure to any fear is through it. You can't
avoid it, right?
Well, this is wonderful because you now get the opportunity to see the things at the root of your fears,
right?
And also have the loving support of the medicine. I don't know how better to describe that. Leads you by the hand towards it, and makes it. Made me realise that I could handle anything, actually.
And isn't that the thing? The upshot in this is that you're no longer afraid of death, and that you can handle anything. Yeah. Well, it's a lot to get for a week, right? Yeah. I mean, let me ask you this. Are you a guy who likes camping? Do you like the jungle, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Because a lot of people would not have tried the medicine if it wasn't for...
I see what you're saying.
They're not... A lot of people are afraid of... Dude, I did the medicine in the jungle. And I was shit scared all night about creepy crawlers. And they're all over the place. There's scorpions and shit. I didn't like it. I need a place like this. And if these were your clients, what would you tell them about coming here? Honestly, straight out.
Well, as I said, I'd love to bring clients here. What I would say to them is that what's unique and special about this particular place is that you're not just coming here to drink a kind of randomly brewed mixture that you've no idea about the provenance of it. And you're also being supported by a whole program of breath work and kind of there's meditation classes and yoga classes and your wonderful talks and introductions. So I felt really informed. I had a sense of what was going on, sense of community. So it felt to me like I was in the best possible place, sort of emotionally, physically, psychologically, to go on a journey, which I think in a different set of circumstances might have been too much. In fact, the first time I ever drank ayahuasca, which was in London, I had one of the worst attacks of paranoia I've ever had.
Were you on someone's living room floor?
Yeah.
You were? Were you there too? I've done that. Not in London, but I've done that.
And the woman the shaman was fabulous. I give total credit to her. But I didn't have any real context of what it is that I was doing. I didn't really understand the process. I didn't feel served or supported in the same way. And I have to say, part of my paranoia is because I was terrified the police were going to bust us.
Absolutely. The good thing here is that it is legal. We're in a medically licensed facility. But I want to ask you something. There's so many people that are out there that have thought about doing this kind of thing, and they are either maybe fearful of the medicine, or I think the biggest fear to me is that when I was on the medicine and I realized that the monster under the bed was me, that's when I got a little freaked out. The biggest thing I had to fear in my existence was me. And that to me was just mind-boggling. And that how could I have been running interference against my own freedom and happiness? I couldn't even fathom that. You mean to tell me that the reason that I can't get the gold ring is because I'm purposely missing it? I thought, well, how the hell can that be? And it took me a good week and a half to get my hands around that. And I think a lot of people, because what I've learned from the medicine is that the medicine contains no new information. All that information is in us. Our awareness of it is accelerated by the medicine. So like that vision you had of being a boy, that's in there, on record, on lockdown. That's not something that came out. That's in there.
That's right, yeah.
And you couldn't get to it. You didn't have an awareness of it, but it was recorded there. But on some level, we know that we're the gatekeepers for our own freedom. And the thought of truly being free is scary. And I'm going to tell you, there's so much proof of this in the world that a woman who was beaten by her husband for 20 years, finally leaves him and gets a new boyfriend, 99% of the time is a wife beater. And it's because we're so goddamn used to whatever it is we got going, and it's even harder if we're successful, if we have a good business and we're managing a good life or a good marriage and a good business, and okay, we'll just stay right here and whatever, I'll shove these things down that aren't going good and we'll just keep grinding through because we're afraid. But I want to tell you that I really believe this, that all true joy comes from this move of, because you will never be the same again.
No.
You will never, it's impossible.
Well, I know enough about neuroscience and how the brain works. I know what's happened to me.
You know what's happened.
And I'm really grateful for the fact that I found a way of accessing that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in here today. And I want to tell you, please come to Rythmia. Please come, but please know that it's going to be work. Now here's what's interesting. In the history of the place, only one person left midweek. And one person out of thousands, one person left midweek. So everybody, but no, come prepared that you're going to have to do some heavy lifting. And the heavy lifting is just allowing yourself to see the truth. That's the heavy lifting of this thing. But next thing is, please, again, if you think this will help anybody, please share this. If you have any questions, go to rythmia.com or call this number and we'll help you through anything. And if you have questions that you want to type out, as soon as I'm done this, I go and I answer them. If you want to go to Simon's site, it's simoncrow.com. And Simon, I really had a great time meeting you. You're a hell of a friend, and I know going forward I'm going to see a lot of you. So we'll see you again, I hope. And just thank you guys so much, and thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you next week.